Hello, Lorenzo here, and first of all, a happy 2017. There's a small chance we're seeing this in 2016, but it's a small one. Anyway, KSP next episode 22. Today we're visiting Mercury. Before we do that, though, let's check in on our Jupiter probe. Remember, in the previous episode, we tried to send that, but we didn't quite have the delta V to send it all the way. So we put in a reminder to check in with it at the apoapsis, which is like halfway between Jupiter and Earth, mainly to check if that would count as high over the sun yet for science points, and to see if the solar panels would hold up. Well, the answer is no and no. No new science from this area of the solar system, and we can see a steady decrease in the electric charge from the probe. So that means we need some better solutions if we're going to send durable probes to Jupiter. Fortunately, we are going to get some science this episode to make that happen. First mission of the day is actually not the probe to Mercury, it's the Lunatic 2 third attempt. We're doing a manned flyby of the moon, and we forgot last time that the contract lawyers did specify an altitude below 5,000 kilometers. So we've got the uprated Hydrolox crew rocket here ascending in full glory. I think this looks pretty even though it's night. And this will power Jebediah to the moon. The uprated version is mainly expressed in changes to the crew compartment, mainly bringing less food, less snacks, less monopropellant to squeeze some extra meters per second of delta V out of the rocket. Calculations show that it should be capable of establishing lunar orbit as well, and then returning to Earth, but this is going to be pushing it pretty much, so I'm not quite sure if I dare do that. So while I said that, we're on our way to a lunar insertion burn. Skipping through the mission really quick because it's pretty much the same as last episode. No significant problems, actually no problems at all. No engine failures, no weird orbit insertions, no exploding cryo tanks, no wasted engines, nothing. So all in all, our space program is finding its footing. Here we are at the moon, below 5,000 kilometers, so that's an objective achieved and a contract completed. Should give us quite the bundle of cash, really. Actually, speaking of the cash flow, we are doing really well. At the end of this episode, we have 1.8 million credits in the bank. We have an upgraded science center, which we needed for researching additional nodes. And now, if only we can get some science from the planets, like by building probes and stuff, we can start researching the exciting stuff. In the vehicle assembly building at this point is a robotic lunar lander, so that's something to look forward to, and probes to go to set planets. We're doing a escape burn now, which is going to put us back on a trajectory to Earth. We needed to do the escape burn because by putting our periapsis so close to the moon, we were actually going to end up in a very high orbit. Fortunately, we had the delta V. We're now approaching planet Earth once more. These missions take about 10 days. This tells me that the trajectories are probably not completely optimal, but then again, I'm not actually an astrodynamicist. I just kind of point the ship towards its destination and fire the engines. They tell me it's good enough in the Janitors Club. Anyway, the capsule has been separated. I got a really good tip from the comments to lock the electric charge on the capsule so that way it's not used until it's the absolute last resource on the ship. This is a good one. Wasn't in time for this episode, so here I still transferred it manually. But still, transferred it was, so we have power on the capsule for a nice controlled re-entry, which Jebediah actually has done a fair few of in this program. He's getting good at this stuff. Here we go, time accelerated view of a nice re-entry over, let's call it the Sahara. It's a desert, it's probably the Sahara, I have no idea. Taking a crew report from said desert, and otherwise, cashing in the contracts, getting the money, and making sure the capsule doesn't burn up. We have this control authority through the atmosphere, but I find that the lunar rated heat shield, the extra one that you bring, is really quite capable and very forgiving. So the re-entry so far, as long as you get the initial altitude, like somewhere around 60 kilometers, it's very forgiving. So here we deploy the parachutes and basically waft down to the surface. Let's release the heat shield, and look what happens. Whoa, we somehow the heat shield decelerated way quicker than the capsule with its parachutes, which I don't know how that happened, but it struck the capsule and sent Jebediah into a wild tumble. Fortunately, he lived. But yeah, we're gonna have to pick another moment to separate our heat shields, guys. This is dangerous. Anyway, we're back on planet Earth. Objective achieved. We've done it. We're rich. With that money, we built the Hydro probe, named it the Quicksilver 2, sending a probe to Mercury. You can see a nice fairing around the probe because it's not so nice and aerodynamic-like as the crew capsule was. Also observed the higher frame rate and built an interstage, which is apparently really important. The ways of computer frame rates elude me. Anyway, we are ascending. The probe is doing its job marvelously, and in the meantime, I'm getting the hang of this new rocket, making its trajectory more and more efficient. We're not having apoapses of 500-600 kilometers anymore. We still need like a decent hop to allow this second stage to do its full burn, but you know, we do that and on its way it goes. See, there are solar panels of the probe deployed. I only did pack on 4 solar panels because it's going to Mercury, which is like pretty super close to the sun, so we're not going to have to bring a wild amount of solar panels. Well, the burn to Mercury has been plotted here, but take a look at our periapses. If we don't stop firing the engines relatively soon, we're gonna plow through the atmosphere. Fortunately, the burn is almost done, so I think actually... Oh wait, we're ascending. No, we didn't plow through the atmosphere. We almost plowed through the atmosphere, and that made our burn like super efficient, O-Birth-like. Yay. Anyway, second stage has been burnt out. We're leaving that somewhere in interplanetary space. Found out we brought an extra decoupler. Didn't really need that. Not gonna bring that one on the next trip. And you can see the 2 RCS Elage motors that I brought firing to settle the fuel and light the third stage engine. And apparently immediately shut it down again. There we go, lighting the engine and continuing on our journey to Mercury. We still pack over 4 kilometers per second of delta V on this probe, so yeah, that's what you get for a high efficiency second stage. We should be able to do some interesting interplanetary maneuvers with this, possibly even... Well, establishing orbit around Mercury will be like crazy delta V intensive, but we should be able to maneuver into a nice low altitude flyby for some optimum science captures. Anyway, here we are in said interplanetary space, and look at the resources tab. We're out of electric charge. The 4 solar panels are insufficient for generating enough power at Earth altitude. Could have probably checked that beforehand, but didn't. Now it's going to come down to the fact of, will we get close enough to the sun fast enough to still do a intercept burn? This was definitely not planned, but look at that. We're about 20% closer to the sun and the solar panels start generating power. So now we regain control of the probe. Pretty dicey strategy here, just sending your probe on a trajectory out of the Earth's orbit and then only regaining contact with it like 4 weeks later when it's closer to the sun, so it gets power. Not recommended, but this time it worked out. So we asked MechJeb to chart a trajectory to intercept Mercury. Unfortunately, the flight computer is having some trouble initiating the engine. I haven't found a good way to order the flight computer to do an Elage burn with like just RCS. I tried to put some action groups to like throttle up to full, deactivate the main engine, activate the RCS thrusters, but then if the engine's deactivated, the throttle doesn't do the RCS ones. So the only thing I've come up with is like have the flight computer spin this ship by ordering a radial altitude lock and then a prograde altitude lock, and then in between those have the maneuver node, so that when it's spinning the fuel settles and then the maneuver node executes, but it's feeling really clunky. Anyway, we did manage to ignite the engine from afar. The intercept burn has been completed and we should now be on a good course to intercept Mercury. There we go. The system isn't really having it, but I'm pretty almost completely sure that this is in fact an intercept course. You can see now as well the ship, the Earth, and the Sun are nicely lined up. We're closer to the Sun than the Earth is, and that's why the solar panels ended up working again. Now I should tell, we did accept a contract to do a flyby of Mercury, so we kind of do have to do that for more money and to avoid the penalties. And the contract is for a periapsis of below 20,000 kilometers. So we're currently on a collision course, so that's definitely going to be below 20,000 kilometers. But I want the leeway to, well, if we're gonna actually do a flyby, we'll spend at least like 2 or 3 times as much time near the planet rather than just plowing straight into it. So I planned another burn to like put our periapsis at 1,000 kilometers, but we run into the same problem where the flight computer doesn't do the illage burn, and I can't figure it out. So I tried to like have it spin and then do the burn, but then the commands got jumbled together, and I tried to cancel a few, and that messed with the time warp, and it's just a non-intuitive, unrealistic system. I mean, the delay is realistic, but like the degree of automation you can achieve with that is definitely not realistic. I should be able to plan an illage burn with just RCS, and I can't figure out a way to do that, which is frustrating. Anyway, what happened here is the ship is now rotating. That settled the fuel and ignited the engine, but because the stage is almost empty, the acceleration is pretty high. So before the spaceship turns around, it's accelerated a couple hundred meters per second in the wrong direction, messing up the maneuver node, necessitating a turn around again, further moving the maneuver node away. So as you can see, it's just like circling, and there's nothing we can do about that. So unfortunately, any future maneuvers are going to be ruined because the fuel will be burnt out. We are gently circling, basically adding 0 meters per second to the total vector. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this like 2 kilometers per second random burn isn't going to like completely throw off our intercept or push it above the 20,000 kilometers stipulated by the contract. So on one hand, this is a super realistic failure of communications breakdown and conflicting orders having unintended effects and badly programmed flight computers messing up missions, but it's also quite frustrating. So I'm thinking of ways to like preserve the realism but keep things a little bit more manageable. For now, we will almost see whether or not this probe is going to end up in deep space. Doesn't seem like it's got 100 meters per second more, and now the engine is officially dead. So the probe is not going anywhere, no matter what we tell the flight computer. It is still going crazy on the throttle, but if I put time acceleration on, that isn't such an annoying sound. Let's have a look anyway. Where are we going? Did we mess everything up? Actually, we didn't mess everything up. This is, well, the system is forgetting it, but we did actually get an intercept. And the trajectory system doesn't seem, the patched conics doesn't seem to work super well with real solar system and close to the sun. But we got an intercept at 11,000 kilometers, a flyby that is. So yeah, we're in the sphere of influence of Mercury. We're transmitting science home. So despite the flight computer mishap, we did achieve the objective of science points from Mercury. And if we just time warp forwards a little bit more, we will reach that periapsis. We're 16, 15, 14, 12. Yeah, that's all below 20,000 kilometers. So yeah, definitely contract achieved. Mission accomplished, albeit with some unnecessary weirdness from the flight computer. Unfortunately, 11,000 kilometers is higher than low above Mercury, so we only get signs from high space. That's a pity. Maybe we should have left it at the impact point, but then again, got greedy, tried to do something fancy, and failed. For now, look at Mercury, wave it goodbye, and that's it for this episode. Happy 2017, you guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, throw likes, subscriptions, and comments in the comments. That's how we do things around here. Anyway, check back next time. I will try to land a small payload on the moon and possibly do something other awesome. Something else awesome. Something or other. Yeah, I'm Lorenzo. See you.